Today, we're announcing support for native OpenAPI inside the Zuplo API Gateway. Zuplo is a programmable, serverless, fully managed API gateway that has a great developer experience. And now the routing and the configuration is all natively based on OpenAPI. So I'm going to give you a demo of that. I'm going to create a new project here and you'll see the new project experience and how it leverages OpenAPI. So we still have this same great designer. So you can come in here and design your routes and set up your paths, like maybe you got a hello world path, maybe it's a post, etc. But what you're actually doing there is you're generating OpenAPI. So now the JSON that backs what you're defining there is OpenAPI 3.1. We also can support importing 3.0. Now, in this case, this is if you're building using our designer. Maybe you don't use OpenAPI normally. Well, the great news is you won't even notice, and you're going to be on board the OpenAPI train and ready to take advantage of all the benefits that holds. What I also want to show you, though, is how we've really focused on creating a great workflow for people that are API design first, or that do use OpenAPI, and that's using our import and merge functionality. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a file here. I'm going to import the pet store OpenAPI file, the most famous example. And because I have no routes, you can see here it's going to create 19 new operations. So I'm going to complete that, and then I'm going to save my changes there. And just because we're using OpenAPI and it has all this rich documentation in here, if we go and look at our developer portal, you'll actually see that we already have a pretty rich experience available with dark mode, of course. But let's make some, changes here. So first of all, I'm going to add to update an existing pet. Let's add some authentication. So, I'm going to use API key authentication. I'm going to add some rate limiting based on the user. And I'm going to save my changes there to both files. But then I'm also simultaneously making changes to my OpenAPI document. Perhaps I'm using stoplight. So let's go and find this summary here. So update an existing pet. And I'm just going to capitalize the word existing. It's not a real change that you would do, but let's imagine you'd made this change over in your OpenAPI doc. What you can now do is go to the OpenAPI tab. You can import or merge that OpenAPI again. And what you'll see is that we actually are going to merge these operations. And so if I complete the merge and go back to the route designer, notice how that change has come into effect. But I haven't lost the configuration I added. So we merge in your OpenAPI doc and we overwrite things that you've changed externally, and we keep the Zuplo stuff around. So it offers a really great workflow around OpenAPI. And if you know how to write OpenAPI, then you're already off to a head start in terms of configuring this for developer documentation, for schema validation, and much more. Have fun.